In this video, we're going to cover the 5 key areas of cost for a homeowner extension, and on top of that, how you can avoid getting ripped off. So you may have heard it, folks, but many families price up their extension or even just work their ballpark budgets out, all based on squared meterage rates. And at the moment, it's very common in the southeast of the UK to be working between £2,000 and £2,500 per squared metre. In this video, we're going to break down what other costs lie outside of that meterage rate, and on top of that, what does the meterage rate even get you? If you paid someone tomorrow and you paid your £2,000 or £2,500, what on earth would you end up with? So before we dive into this video, we've also put together a very handy PDF guide that you can find down in the description, which will get you started with your homeowner extension. We recently worked with a family on their loft conversion and a very large homeowner extension. And this home was based in Chelmsford in Essex. Long story short, this family were desperately in need of a larger kitchen dining space and one additional bedroom. It had to be a master suite, of course, but nonetheless, that was the mission. We broke down the costs with this family from the jump and explained that although there's a cubic and squared meterage rate for whether you're doing the loft or the rear extension, we really needed to ensure that this budget was hit from day one, as the borrowing, the bridge finance that was put in place to complete this project was incredibly tight on timeline. So there was no wiggle room, there was no opportunity to discuss or maneuver on pricing. We had to get the budget right from the very beginning and ensure that everyone was on the same page to get this built. For us over at Design Spec, we worked with our quantity surveying arm, which is QSpec, and we first and foremost established a very clear build cost. So you may ask, how does a quantity surveyor truly break down build cost? Well, first and foremost, they're going to work with you on that meterage. So we knew that we were building a 4.5 metre rear extension, so it was pretty straightforward to work that one out. And with the loft, we had a very good idea of our boundaries and how far we could push the envelope within the fabric of this building. We put that into the machine, if you will, and it will spit out the build cost on that £2,500 per square metre rate that we discussed at the very beginning. However, in this video, the 5 key topics that we're going to discuss that sit outside of those core numbers and that we had to factor in before the design was even established are the following: the term shell cost, professional fees, fit out, contingency percentage, and project timeline. Starting at the very top of that list, the term shell. You're going to hear this, folks. If you're paying for a meterage rate on anything to do with construction, they are effectively outlining your shell cost. Shell, by definition, is going to a plastered finish within your home. Some contractors will allow basic level electrics, plumbing, and anything necessary for you to physically live within that box. But it does not allow for things such as decoration, sometimes the finishing timber finishes within your property, such as skirting and architrave, and it most certainly does not allow for any architectural glazing or anything that would be ever so slightly out of the norm of a simple box on the back of a home. If you're anything like me, I would always presume that I'm going to end up with an extension that exaggerates my home or is certainly an investment into the way that I live. Therefore, I'm going to want perhaps bifold doors or sliding doors or some form of roof light even. All of those can count as extras, folks. So when you are working out your meterage rate, it is absolutely essential that that very honest conversation is had with your design provider. What am I getting for that rate? Second on our list, the professional fees. Professional fees can be anything from your architecture's fees to your structural engineer to the quantity surveyor for the building control drawings, for build over agreements, for ecology reports, for tree surveys, for soil samples, and the list can go on. Keeping things incredibly simple, your design company should know what your project is going to require before you get going. So my absolute recommendation here is to have multiple conversations with multiple companies, but I very much am specifying here, have multiple conversations with each design company and ensure that the quotation includes everything that you're going to need. If it doesn't, be sure to push for contingency amounts and numbers. You have to know roughly what this is going to cost you, folks. I know I'm speaking plain English here, but professional fees is one of those areas where many companies will take you on a journey and it will be one step at a time. So they will price up your planning application, which is pretty normal, pretty standard, and they will not break down what an engineer could cost you in the future or what the building control drawings could cost you in the future. And slowly but surely these will really rack up. Now if you go onto the RIBA website, RIBA themselves will stipulate that you could be looking at anything from 10 to 12 to 15% of your total build cost being spent on professional fees. That's a huge amount of money that you may need to find if you're extending on both the ground floor and the loft conversion, for example. Professional fees, folks, be sure to drill that down and have a very open and honest conversation with each of the design companies that you reach out to. The next term, fit out. What on earth does this mean? Contractors tend to fit out the property or the proposal after the point of the shell being complete. So what you can end up with is within a builder's quotation, a couple of different brackets. You have your core cost or your shell cost, and then you'll have everything that goes on top of that. That's the fit out. That's what you need to choose, if you like, that goes into your home. First of the two is very much the bare necessities. You don't really get a choice. You need electrics, you need plumbing, you need walls, and you need a roof. While all of that is happening on one side, you should be out choosing what's going to go in to the fit out. That's your very much the door handles, that's the door types, that's the kitchen, the bathrooms. It's the actual physical materials that you're going to see all day, every day. And I highly, highly recommend, if you're working with a design company, get some recommendations. That is going to be the trick to all of this. A really good design company should save you every penny you pay them on build cost savings, folks. So their recommendations, their partners, anyone that they're associated to should be able to help you bring down your overall costs, but nonetheless, they should be factored in very, very early on. Number 4 on our list is contingency. A contingency percentage is always recommended by the contractor, the design company, by RIBA, hey, maybe even your friends and family. You absolutely need a contingency amount of money, and for me, I always recommend being quite open and honest with everyone that you're working with. If you stipulate that your budget is X amount of money, and for the sake of this video, we're going to call it £150,000, you absolutely need a 10% contingency put to one side that just sits there in case. Because as you're working with an existing building, there's all sorts of things that could come up. We've had contractors presume that walls are breeze block walls and they've gone to start the work, and it's not. It's a full brick wall that we could have used for structural amendment. All of a sudden, we've reduced build cost because we can use that wall, but you bet your bottom dollar that now that foundation may need a bit of work. So there's money to throw at the foundation. It doesn't matter what it is, but you absolutely just need a contingency pocket put to one side. And if everyone's on the same page and we're all very open and honest with each other, it's a lot easier for a contractor to understand the limits, the remits, timelines, etc. So I absolutely would recommend having the contingency very open and having everyone on board with the same understanding and same contract. That's going to be key. Now that leads beautifully into point number 5, which is your timeline. Timeline is one of those topics that is, in all honesty, skirted around until contract day, until the builder really gets in and gets stuck into the project. If you have a tight timeline, it is not worth putting additional pressure onto the contractor. You just want to put it on paper. It needs to be contracted in. It needs to be something that everyone is aware of, but is not mentioned every single day because, hey, none of us perform that well under that kind of pressure. The best thing to do with the timeline is just have it painted on the wall. We're all on the same page. We're all pushing for the same goal. And again, if you can allow a contingency, because that was the key point before, then fantastic. But there are little hacks to this game of the timeline. If you're extending your home and you need the contractor to turn on and off your gas, electric every single day because, hey, you and your family need to eat of an evening, then naturally that could increase your timeline because you're relying on the flexibility of the plumbers and electricians, and i.e. so is the contractor. I always recommend to clients, just consider going away, either on holiday or to a family or a relative or anything of the kind, that you could quite effectively be out of the house for a period of time, and you will reduce your timeline. As the home is being smashed from top to bottom, it's a lot easier for a contractor to secure the site fully, have no gas and electric being switched on all day, every day, and just allow the labourers to really grab hold of this property, strip it right back, put the new structure in place, and then they can kick on with the project. We've also put together another guide that, again, you'll find down in the description, which is our ultimate homeowner guide, which can guide you quite literally from the very, very beginning to the very, very end of your project. And it also, of course, has to outline how we could help you along that journey. If this video has been helpful, please do forward it on to family, friends, or anyone looking to extend their home. And we hope to receive your inquiry very soon.